podcast. We are on season 2 and episode 47, and you're probably wondering who's going to join me today. Well, if you don't know me, my name is Dr. Gina Anderson, and I am the host of this podcast and the CEO of Luma Brighter Learning. We help industries in the supply chain save lives through our award-winning connected learning platform. If you want to find out more about Luma Brighter Learning, go to lumabrighterlearning.com, and I would love if you would subscribe to our YouTube channel. And I am so glad that you are here with us today, because you are going to meet the most incredible guest. And if you're ready, let's go in the comments, because in a few minutes, I'm going to bring Lori Tsugawa on my podcast. And one of the most incredible things, and one of the many reasons why I wanted her to join us today, is because she will tell you that about several years ago, after 2-year rear end accidents, she had a traumatic brain injury. She was told that she was going to read, and she was reading at a 7th grade level. But something deep inside of her whispered, and I'm probably going to say this wrong, so she's going to correct me when she comes on, Gamburu. And it means to do my best, to keep going, to rise up even when it felt impossible. Lori, set me straight. Did I say it right? Introduce yourself to everyone and tell us what you're passionate about.
Sure. Konnichiwa, everyone. My name is Lori Tsugawa, and it's Gambaru, and it's what kept me going after 2 rear-end accidents and having traumatic brain injury, reading at a 7th grade level. And no one knew how I was going to come fare out of this, and some doctors thought I was nuts, but I kept going because I didn't want to quit. And I was told and taught that in my Japanese background, you don't give up. You don't give up. There's always a way. And I didn't want to give up because I was going to have grandchildren. And I just did not want to give up because I was too young and life's too short. Why give up and roll over and just say, well, que sera, sera. But
Absolutely.
I just wanted to keep going. And that's how I was raised. I was raised on a farm, believe that or not. I'm a farmer's daughter. And you didn't give up. You didn't give up in the middle of a road. You just kept going. Rain, shine, whatever. You kept going.
Wow, that's incredible. And I'm so glad that you kept going, because you are a giver, and you give. And through the education of what you lost and you went through, you continue to just add a bright light to this world and to everyone that connects with you and listens to your podcast and all the goodness that you provide. So why don't you tell my audience what you're passionate about and, really what keeps you happy every day?
Okay. Well, what I'm passionate about is sharing the ancient principles of the Japanese and the samurai, and that's the Code of Bushido: courage, integrity, benevolence, respect, honesty, honor, and loyalty. And they did not compromise. And then also, Ikigai is knowing your purpose in life. And for FYI, Ikigai is not the Venn diagram. I'm learning the Japanese way. Yes. So I'm very excited about that. And then Gambaru is just never giving up. And when I wrote the book, To Overcome Traumatic Brain Injury, I added Gambaru, even though it was not a Code of Bushido, and because I wanted my mom in the book, because she taught me how she would not let us give up. Oh, you do this, well, try this, try that. And she just would not let us give up. And she would always say, there's always a way. There is a way to do what you want to do. You may have to keep trying, but that's what I did. And with traumatic brain injury, because one ophthalmologist told me, well, there's no connection between TBI and reading at a 7th grade level.
Wow.
That's what he told me. And
wow.
So I won't mention his name.
Wow. No, let's not do that. As a learning scientist, I even know that might not be totally accurate, right?
Right. It's not accurate. And so I went to a neuro-ophthalmologist, and I went through his program for about 3 years. I went to speech pathology. In fact, 2 speech pathologists, and you name it, I've done it. So I know a lot. March is Brain Injury Month, Awareness Month. And I like to tell people that so many people have brain injuries, especially athletes and kids that fall off of bikes, or if you don't wear your helmets or you get into a bad accident, during sports, there's a possibility that you may have suffered a concussion or have traumatic brain injury, but it's not insurmountable. It's the brain is always looking for new ways to uh, make new paths, and that's what I had to learn how to do.
Absolutely. How did you learn this? Like, what is it, something you read, or like, how did you learn to overcome this like insurmountable roadblock that faced you?
Well, I had a wonderful speech pathologist. I didn't even know really what a speech pathologist did way back then. But
Yeah.
she was wonderful, and she was my advocate, and she kept cheering me on, and even when I was in her office and crying and saying, "I can't do this," and because it would
Aw.
get so hard, but she would continue to encourage me. So it was
Mm,
through speech pathology, and I also had two because I had one for the cognitive, and the other one was
mm,
called audio processing. I can hear
mm,
extremely well, but it wasn't making the
mm,
connection upstairs. So
mm,
that's what I did. And I was just really interested in it, went through Dr. Daniel Amen's program and
mm,
learned to do so many things because it's a fascinating subject and kind of a new frontier.
mm.
But I hear so many people say, well, maybe this happened to me. And someone told me her husband was a football athlete and
Mhm.
professional, and she said that after many concussions, they said, "Well, go back into the huddle." He gets into the wrong huddle,
Oh, wow. Okay.
and he died
Mhm.
young because he had way too many um, knockdowns, or what do you want to call them?
Right.
Too many concussions, and I've had too many, but not like an athlete would.
Yeah, I think about that because, you may think that maybe nothing is necessarily wrong, or maybe there's something wrong, but you don't know where to turn. Like, who can you trust or who can you talk to? So I love this idea of, going to a trusted doctor, going to a community like yours of people who have been through it to give you support, because you don't have to go through this alone, right? This is something that
Yeah.
you definitely need connections, and you need to reach out to a community to help you. And I think that is, a lot of times people just don't know what to do. It's kind of like, where do I turn? And so for you, like, is this something like that was like a one time, like how long, Lori, are you continuing to practice and go through to overcome these hurdles, or was it like 2 months and you were cured?
Oh, no, no, no. It
Oh,
was
okay.
continual. And I was introduced to Dr. Daniel Amen. I mean, I knew about him, but not really
Mm,
through my functional medicine doctor. And he
mm.
actually worked for him. And so I went through his protocol, and they put me on different vitamins, and they told me about the Mediterranean diet and learning. And I saw an actual picture of my brain. And they
Wow, I know, right? What did it look like, Lori? I love this. I'm geeking out. What did your brain look like?
Looks like
Tell us.
I had been on drugs. There were
Yeah,
crevices and holes, and it should be smooth like tofu or
right.
pudding or
Hmm.
something like that. But
Hmm.
I saw the brains of people doing drugs and alcohol and all kinds of things, and there were too many holes, crevices, gaps.
Hmm.
And that's what mine looked like. And then they had me come back after a year of doing cognitive
Hmm.
rehabilitation and changing my diet, being on their vitamin, what their protocol, like fish oil and different
Hmm.
things like that. And my brain improved immensely. And that was just after
Wow.
1 year. And so I continued to do that. I continued to learn about the brain, and the um, the food, the diet is really important to be
Hmm.
on more like a paleo diet and be very kind to your body, drink good water, just, and the negative thoughts, because he talks about the thoughts that
Right.
you have, he calls them ant. I forget what the acronym
Oh, I
is.
call them I call them shadow statements, Lori.
Okay. Too many of those, if that's where your brain is going and entertaining, that's where you're going to go. And they go, oh, okay, let's go down that road. But you don't have to. You can say, life is great. I'm going to learn. There's so much information out there, and I'm not going to let this overcome, I'm not going to let this get the better of me, shall we say.
I love that so much. I love it, love it, love it. Because that's exactly like that is my message, right? Because I've seen brains, Lori. Like I've looked at brains with dementia. They're like hollow, right? Trauma, they're hollow. I mean, they like look like you don't see any gray or white matter in the middle of your brain. And like, same with food, when you put positivity and goodness and gratitude and love, that structure, it changes on brain scans. And it's like, this is real. This is like actually real when you have curiosity and you continue to learn. It's so powerful. So I love that you share all of this goodness. And what does winning mean to you? I started this podcast this season. I really wanted to like focus on people's views of winning, because I think there's so many different interpretations of that. So Lori, what does winning mean to you?
Well, in my opinion, it's personal, because my winning wouldn't be the same as yours. And I didn't finish sharing about that, but as I was going through traumatic brain injury, it really helped me, or caused me, to delve deeper into my Japanese heritage. And because it was one thing, when I was growing up, I was teased, bullied, racial prejudice. And so I didn't want anything to do with my heritage. And then I had a mentor, and I remember my Japanese grandmother, and all these little things started coming together. And I worked at a Tacoma Art Museum, and my mentor said, you know, Lori, you really should go to Japan. I think you're a lot more Japanese than you realize. And I go, okay. So my husband and I did go. That was way back in the 80s. We've been married almost 50 years. So that was way back in the 80s. And little plants of my Japanese background came in. I met my Japanese relatives on my father's side. And it really caused me to go into learning more about Japanese culture, and then finding out that my relatives gave us our Japanese crest, which is part of the samurai crest of feudal Japan. So I went more into the samurai and realized that instead of learning about their battles, I wanted to know what made them tick. And I think it was the Kodo that they did not compromise. They would rather die the honor death than to dishonor their lord, their family, their village, or whatever. They would rather die. To them, that was an honorable death, rather than disobey or discredit, or just be disrespectful of their heritage. So that's what I did. And I wrote the book, and that was in 15. It was on 15. Let's see, 15, I self-published. 16, it went on Amazon. And then in 18, Tuttle Publishing offered me a contract for a new edition of my book. And so in 2020, just as COVID was coming down, the book came out.
Got it. You can stay home and read that all day. They would love that. I hope everyone gets your book. You know, it's really interesting. And I know a lot of people are interested in this area specifically. And last week, I had Kara Truitt on my podcast, and she wanted to know if there are any samurai strategy tips for the season of fall. So what do you think? What should we tell Kara?
Oh, we should tell Kara that the samurai, and actually the whole Japanese culture, this makes so much sense. It's very seasonal.
Okay.
As I shared with you, Dr. Gina, spring dishes are different than fall dishes. You have a set of 4 dishes in your not wardrobe, but in your accoutrements. You would have 4. And so this fall is harvest, and especially for rice. They did not go to battle as much during the planting and the harvest season. And so the battles were more on the off season, shall we say. And even their clothes were different. You wouldn't wear cotton in the fall. You would wear heavier fabric and different style. You wouldn't wear short sleeves in the fall. But fall is beautiful. I love it. It's our favorite season to go to Japan. It's beautiful and not as crowded, which is really nice. So the fall would be a time when they kind of retreated, but they also, because of their the Bushido was based on the indigenous Shinto, and then also the Buddhist religions. And so I'll read this to you. Samurai's fighting season was determined by the agricultural calendar. During peak farming seasons of spring planting and autumn harvesting, many samurai, especially the lesser, would return to their village to farm. This meant that the large-scale military campaigns were often conducted during other times of the year. So I
Mm.
find that really, really interesting. And they're very seasonal, and that's so Japanese, because I can remember seeing my grandmother's, how she would have different things at different times. And even if
Mhm.
you go to a true Japanese restaurant, you will see different dishes, and the food is different. They wouldn't
Mm.
serve cherry blossom things during fall, because that's over. It's very, so
Yeah.
it's
Tradition,
very
tradition.
tradition.
I like that. That's so beautiful having those traditions, and I live in South Carolina and it's hot. So we don't have pumpkins here, It's like thinking about the different seasons and what they mean to different cultures is so powerful. I love that. I know we both know we have similar acquaintances, Lori. And so next week on my podcast, Tara actually
Oh,
introduced me to Amna, Dr. Amna.
Dr.
And
Amna.
yeah, and she's going to be on my podcast. And Dr. Amna and I did a TEDx together. And I don't know if do you know her? But
Yes, I
do
do.
you do know her, so you know her. So her TEDx is going to be coming out in 2 to 3 weeks, was on perfectionism, because she's,
Oh.
a doctor and she struggled with perfectionism and what that means is in the medical field. What do you think we should ask her next week?
How she overcame that.
Oh, how she overcame it. Interestingly, it's probably similar. We'll see what she says. We'll see what Dr. Amna says, see how she overcame perfectionism. And if she has overcome it, we'll see what she says. So I hope everyone joins us next week. Lori, I started my podcast because I had some truck drivers telling me that they were depressed and that maybe, they've lost their passion for learning. What advice would you give to someone listening today who's struggling, who maybe has lost their passion for creativity and learning, even about other cultures or about their own culture and their own, environments? What advice would you give them to move forward just one more day?
Okay. I would encourage them to look at their ikigai, their reason for being. And unfortunately, I don't know exactly how to teach it the way that the Japanese taught it, but it is from Okinawa, over 700 years ago, maybe almost 1,000.
Wow.
But it is more about finding your purpose and how your purpose will serve others. So really strengthen your why and making that strong. And my why is to share about the Japanese culture, and those are ancient principles for modern day living. And they do apply to our modern day lives today. And so that's what I would just say, is that find your why and then get really, really strong about it. And I'm going to be teaching about Ikigai more after the first of the year, but I definitely teach about the Kodo Bushido. I know about that. And I know about Gambaru, and I teach about that. And I did a TEDx talk about my grandmother's.
Aww.
Yeah. And so I love teaching about the Japanese culture, and that which I once scorned, I now embrace. And you make lemonade out of lemons, and because that was really a bitter pill to swallow, being Japanese. I hated it. I wanted to look
Aww.
like you, Dr. Gina, with blonde hair and blue eyes, but that's not
Oh, you're beautiful. You're so beautiful. Okay, Lori, if somebody wants to learn about your teaching, if they want to come to one of your teachings and learn more about the Japanese culture, or to just find out more and connect with you, where's the best place to access this content, this information, or to connect with you? And give us that, and give us one advice to leave for today and all the goodness that you encompass.
Okay. You will after the podcast is over, will you put in the...
Yeah, we'll put in the chat. We'll definitely
great.
let everyone
My
know.
LinkedIn would be a great place, and my website, loriwhaley.com. And I teach a lot on, actually a lot of my content is in LinkedIn. And I do, my podcast has been, I'm so excited to say, because of Tara, it has gone from trickling into over 41,000 downloads in a few months. So probably about 3 months. So I'm so excited about my podcast and bringing guests on that offer their advice, melding it with the Japanese culture.
That's outstanding. That's amazing. We'll put all those links in the comments after today. Lori, leave us with some lasting advice to leave this Thursday on a good note.
Oh, everybody is so unique, and you can't compare yourself with someone else. Like, I don't have what Dr. Gina has, or even Tara has. I am me, and you find out the uniqueness of you and what makes you individual, and really start appreciating that and sharing that. And you will find people that resonate with that. You know, especially when I tell people that I was reading the 7th grade level. that was really humbling, because like, that's very humbling.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Lori, for
Okay.
joining me today. We'll see you. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Bye.